A federal judge has quashed a pair of grand jury subpoenas sent to the Federal Reserve Board. They were part of a criminal probe by U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office. And in his ruling, Judge James Boasberg said the subpoenas were a pretext to pressure Fed Chairman Jerome Powell to lower interest rates. Pirro responded to the judge's decision in a combative news conference. CBS News Justice correspondent Scott McFarland joins us live right now. Good to see you, Scott. Can you walk us through the judge's decision and what it ultimately means?
Oh, pretty blistering decision from Judge Boasberg, saying in so many words that these subpoenas shouldn't even move forward, much less a grand jury convene to consider evidence, much less a criminal case be filed here. The judge is also saying that this appears to be politically motivated by the White House, that there was not sufficient, if any, evidence of a crime, and that it appears to be an attempt to try to leverage the criminal justice system to get the Federal Reserve Board chair, Jerome Powell, who you see, to lower interest rates, as Trump has been calling for, or to simply resign.
Hey people, Adam is here. So what just happened right now? A federal judge just did something that has never happened in over 200 years of American history, took evidence from an active trial and sent it directly to Congress with a formal written recommendation for impeachment. Not during the Civil War, not during Watergate, never. This judge essentially decided that normal procedures are too slow for the threat at hand and broke a boundary no judge has ever broken before. Washington is still scrambling to process what this means.
New details about that second grand jury that's been meeting in the Trump classified documents investigation. Sources say that this jury, which is based in southern Florida, has heard testimony from multiple witnesses in recent weeks and is set to hear from at least two more witnesses. Let's get straight to CNN's Kristen Holmes, who's breaking this for us. Kristen, so this is in the same jurisdiction where the search warrant for Mar-a-Lago was approved. Tell us more.
That's right. So what we know so far is that this grand jury has been meeting in a courthouse in Miami, and they have recently heard, as you said, from a number of witnesses. They are expected to hear from another witness in this investigation into the classified probes tomorrow. And after that, at least one more witness.
Let me take you inside what just happened, because the details matter. There is an ongoing federal case. Evidence is being presented. Witnesses are testifying under oath. Documents are being entered into the record. And the judge presiding over that case has been watching everything unfold. The judge has seen the pattern. The judge has connected the dots. And what the judge realized is that this is not just a criminal matter. This is not just about legal liability or potential prison time. This is a constitutional crisis.
Welcome back. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett said yesterday she did not believe the country was in a constitutional crisis, despite the Trump administration openly naming and shaming judges assigned to its legal cases. The justice made that comment during an interview last night in New York City to promote her new book. Barrett said, quote, "I don't know what a constitutional crisis would look like. I don't think that we are currently in a constitutional crisis. However, I think our country remains committed to the rule of law. I think we have functioning courts." Barrett, a Trump appointee and member of the court's sixth conservative justice majority, said there would be a constitutional crisis if the rule of law crumbled, but that the U.S. has not gotten to that point.
This is about whether the person sitting in the Oval Office is fit to remain there for another minute. So the judge made a decision that will be studied by law students for generations. The judge formally transmitted the evidence from the trial to Congress, but that is not all. The judge attached a formal recommendation, a written document explicitly stating that Congress should impeach the president, that the evidence is sufficient, that the danger is imminent, and that the legislative branch must act immediately. Now think about what it takes for a federal judge to do something like that. Federal judges are appointed for life. They are insulated from political pressure by design. They are supposed to stay in their lane, to rule on cases before them, and to leave the political questions to the political branches. But this judge looked at the evidence and concluded that staying in that lane would be an abdication of duty, that the Constitution requires something more, that democracy itself is on the line. And here is where the story gets even more intense. Congress received that referral and did not hesitate. The House of Representatives has emergency procedures in place. They are moving faster than anyone thought possible. The impeachment process that normally takes weeks or months is being compressed into days, hours even. The House is preparing for an impeachment vote within the next 72 hours. That is 3 days from now. That is the countdown. That is the timeline. That is how urgent this has become. 220. That is the number you need to watch. 220 House members have already signed onto the impeachment resolution as co-sponsors. 220 is a majority. 220 means the impeachment will pass. 220 means Trump will be impeached for the third time. 220 means the Senate will have no choice but to hold a trial. 220 means the political ground has shifted so dramatically that the old rules of partisan loyalty no longer apply. Let me tell you about what is happening inside the Republican caucus, because this is where the real story is unfolding. Tom Tillis has broken with Trump. Thomas Massie has broken with Trump. These are not never-Trumpers. These are not Democrats in disguise. These are Republican members of Congress who have supported Trump through every controversy, every investigation, every impeachment. But they have seen the evidence that the judge transmitted. They have read the testimony. They have looked at the documents. And they have concluded that they cannot defend him anymore. That the line has been crossed. That country has to come before party. And they are not alone. Other Republicans are wavering. Other Republicans are expressing serious concerns behind closed doors. Other Republicans are starting to understand that Trump is becoming a political liability that could cost them their seats, their majorities, their entire political future. The coalition that has protected Trump for years is fracturing in real time. The support that seemed unshakable is eroding. And as more Republicans see their colleagues breaking ranks, the floodgates are opening. Now let me explain why the 72-hour timeline matters so much. The House leadership understands that every hour they wait is an hour Trump uses to consolidate power, to attack the process, to pressure Republican members, to try to delay or derail the impeachment. They understand that the window for action is narrow and closing fast. They understand that the political situation could explode into chaos if they do not move decisively. So they are moving. Fast, with a level of urgency that no impeachment in American history has ever seen. The National Guard has been deployed to Washington. Security is being tightened across the Capitol complex. Law enforcement agencies are preparing for potential unrest. This is not speculation. This is not alarmism. This is happening right now because the people responsible for protecting the government understand that this is a constitutional emergency of the highest order, that the impeachment of a sitting president, combined with the unprecedented judicial referral that triggered it, could produce a reaction that requires a massive security response. Let me take you deeper into why this judicial referral is so significant. The judge did not just send over a note saying Congress should look into things. The judge sent actual evidence, testimony that has been given under oath, documents that have been authenticated, a record that has been built through the normal adversarial process of a federal trial. That evidence is now in Congress's hands, and it is devastating. What exactly is in that evidence? We cannot know all the details because some of it is still under seal, but what we do know is that the judge concluded that the president's conduct goes far beyond what the normal legal system can address. That this is not just about whether Trump broke the law, though that question remains very much alive. This is about whether Trump is fit to serve, about whether the president poses a danger to the constitutional order, about whether the country can afford to wait for the slow wheels of justice to turn. The judge understood something that many people in Washington have been unwilling to acknowledge. The legal process is too slow. Trials take months. Appeals take years. By the time the normal judicial process runs its course, the damage could be irreversible. The only mechanism that can act with the speed and finality that this situation demands is impeachment. And so the judge used the judicial system to activate the congressional system, used the evidence gathered in the trial to fuel the impeachment process, used the constitutional power of the judiciary to trigger the constitutional power of the legislature. This is the system of checks and balances working the way the founders intended. Not slowly, not gracefully, not without controversy, but working. The judiciary stepping up to say that the executive has gone too far. The legislature responding by preparing to use its ultimate check on executive power, Two branches of government doing their jobs in defense of the Constitution. Now let me tell you about the Senate, because what happens in the House is only half the story. Once the House impeaches Trump, which is now virtually certain given the 220 co-sponsors, the Senate must hold a trial. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court presides. Senators sit as jurors. Evidence is presented. Witnesses may testify. And at the end of that trial, the Senate votes on whether to convict and remove Trump from office. And here is what has changed. The political calculus in the Senate is shifting. Republican senators who have spent years defending Trump are starting to ask themselves hard questions. Do they want to go on the record supporting a president who a federal judge has formally recommended for impeachment? Do they want to be on the wrong side of history when the evidence becomes public? Do they want to explain to their constituents why they voted to keep a president in office who a federal judge concluded posed a danger to democracy? The math is brutal. Conviction requires 2/3 of the Senate. That is 67 votes. Democrats have 48. That means they need 19 Republicans to join them. Before this judicial referral, that number seemed impossible. After the referral, after the evidence is transmitted, after Republicans start breaking ranks, it no longer seems impossible. It seems difficult but possible. And in Washington, possible is all that matters. Let me walk you through the 72-hour timeline so you understand exactly what is coming. Hour 1 through 24. The House Drafting Committee finalizes the articles of impeachment. The 220 co-sponsors are confirmed. Leadership whips the remaining votes to ensure there are no surprises. Hour 25 through 48. The House Rules Committee meets to set the terms of the impeachment debate. The full House prepares for an emergency session. Security is finalized across the Capitol. Hour 49 through 72. The House debates. The House votes. Trump is impeached. The articles are immediately transmitted to the Senate. And then the clock resets. The Senate must begin its trial within days, not weeks. The Chief Justice must be notified. Senators must be sworn in as jurors. The evidence must be presented. And the country will watch every moment of it. This is not normal. None of this is normal. But that is the point. The situation is not normal. The threat is not normal. The danger is not normal. And the response cannot be normal. The judge understood that. Congress is understanding that. Republicans are starting to understand that. And soon, the American people will understand that as well. Let me address something directly. There are people who will watch this video and think it is exaggerated, that a federal judge would not really do something this dramatic, that Congress would not really move this fast, that Republicans would not really break with Trump, that this whole scenario is fantasy. Those people are wrong. And they are about to be proven wrong in real time. The judicial referral has already happened. The 220 co-sponsors have already signed on. The 72-hour timeline has already been activated. The security deployment has already begun. This is happening right now, as we speak. And the reason it is happening is simple. The evidence is overwhelming. The danger is immediate. The constitutional crisis is real. And the people who run the institutions of American democracy have finally decided that they cannot wait any longer, that they cannot hope for the problem to solve itself, that they cannot assume that someone else will act, that they have a duty, a constitutional duty, a moral duty, a duty to the country and to future generations, to act now. This is the moment when democracy fights back. Not with protests, not with tweets, not with opinion pieces, but with the actual machinery of government, with the judiciary transmitting evidence, with the legislature preparing to impeach, with the executive, at least the parts of the executive that are not loyal to Trump personally, preparing to accept the outcome. This is the moment when the Constitution shows whether it is still alive. Whether the words written on parchment 250 years ago still have the power to constrain a president who believes he is above the law, whether the checks and balances that the founders designed can actually check and balance. And here is what I believe. I believe the Constitution is still alive. I believe the checks and balances still work. I believe the judiciary has the courage to stand up. I believe the legislature has the will to act. I believe that enough Republicans will put country over party. I believe that Trump will be impeached. I believe the Senate will convict. I believe Trump will be removed from office. And I believe democracy will survive. Not because I am naive, not because I underestimate Trump's power or the loyalty of his supporters, but because I have seen what the judge did. I have seen the evidence. I have seen the 220 co-sponsors. I have seen the Republicans breaking ranks. I have seen the security preparations. I have seen the 72-hour timeline, and I understand that we have crossed a threshold from which there is no return. The old rules are gone. The old calculations no longer apply. The old certainties have been shattered. We are in new territory now, uncharted territory, territory where a federal judge does something no federal judge has ever done, where the House impeaches a president in 72 hours, where Republicans vote with Democrats to remove their own party's leader, where democracy faces its greatest test and, I believe, passes it. Let me tell you what to watch for in the coming hours. Watch the House floor. When the impeachment resolution comes up for a vote, watch how many Republicans join the Democrats. Watch the margin. Watch the debate. Watch the arguments. Everything you need to know about where this is heading will be visible in that moment. Watch the Senate. When the trial begins, watch how the Republican senators conduct themselves. Watch whether they ask tough questions. Watch whether they demand to hear from witnesses. Watch whether they signal that they are open to conviction. The body language, the procedural votes, the private conversations that leak to reporters, all of it will tell you whether the 19 votes are there. Watch the public reaction. The country is going to be riveted by what is happening. This is not a normal political story. This is not another day of partisan bickering. This is a constitutional crisis unfolding in real time. People will be watching. People will be forming opinions. People will be putting pressure on their elected officials, and that pressure will matter. And watch Trump himself. How does he respond to the judicial referral? How does he respond to the impeachment vote? How does he respond to the Senate trial? His reactions will tell you whether he understands the gravity of what is happening, whether he realizes that the old playbook no longer works, whether he knows that his presidency is in its final days. Let me be clear about what is at stake. This is not about policy differences. This is not about political strategy. This is not about winning the next election. This is about whether the United States remains a democracy, whether the rule of law means anything, whether a president can commit acts that a federal judge determines warrant impeachment and removal and still remain in office, whether the Constitution is a living document with real power or just a piece of paper that can be ignored when it becomes inconvenient. The judge who transmitted that evidence answered those questions. The judge said the Constitution is real. The rule of law matters. No president is above accountability. Democracy is worth defending. And the judge acted on those beliefs with courage and speed and a willingness to break with tradition when tradition was no longer adequate to the moment. Now Congress is answering those same questions. The House is saying that they will act, that they will not hide behind procedure or partisanship or fear of political consequences, that they will do their constitutional duty even when it is hard, even when it costs them, even when the outcome is uncertain, and soon the Senate will answer. Republican senators will have to decide whether they are defenders of the Constitution or defenders of one man, whether they believe in checks and balances or in executive supremacy, whether they are willing to put their political careers on the line to do what they know is right. I believe enough of them will choose the Constitution. I believe enough of them will choose democracy. I believe enough of them will choose country over party. Not all of them, not even most of them, but enough. 19 is the number. 19 Republicans willing to join 48 Democrats. 19 Republicans willing to say that this president has gone too far. 19 Republicans willing to cast the vote that removes Trump from office. Those 19 exist. I am convinced of it. They are in the Senate right now. They are watching the same events we are watching. They are reading the same evidence the judge transmitted. They are feeling the same urgency that has gripped Washington. And they are preparing to make the most difficult decision of their political lives. When they make that decision, when they cast that vote, they will not be doing it for Democrats. They will not be doing it for the media. They will not be doing it for approval ratings or campaign donations. They will be doing it for the Constitution, for democracy, for the country, for the principle that no one is above the law, for the future of the Republic, and history will remember them for it. History will record their names alongside the profiles and courage who put principle above politics when the moment demanded it. Their grandchildren will read about them in textbooks. Their statues may one day stand in the Capitol. Their legacy will be that when democracy was tested, they did not flinch. The 72-hour countdown is underway. The impeachment vote is coming. The Senate trial is coming. The conviction and removal are coming. And when it is over, when Trump is gone, when the immediate crisis has passed, the work of rebuilding will begin, restoring the norms that were broken, rebuilding the institutions that were damaged, renewing the commitment to democratic values that was tested and, I believe, proven strong enough to survive. That is what the federal judge's unprecedented action set in motion. That is what the House's 72-hour timeline will produce. That is what the Senate's trial and conviction will accomplish. The end of Trump, the restoration of democracy, the salvation of America. This is the moment, right now. This is the constitutional crisis that will determine the future of the country. This is the test that the founders warned about. This is the trial that democracy must pass, and I believe democracy will pass it. Because the institutions are holding. Because the people are watching. Because the Constitution is still alive. The judge acted. Congress is acting. Republicans are breaking. The countdown is running. The impeachment is coming. The trial is coming. The removal is coming. Democracy is fighting back, and democracy will win.